following video footage was captured live at a rare Dr. Schulze public appearance. Dr. Schulze was told that without open heart surgery, he would be dead by age 20. Instead, he healed himself of his life-threatening heart deformity and of other incurable injuries. He then made it his life's work to help others have healing miracles too. Over 50,000 people worldwide have followed Dr. Schulze's natural healing programs. Many have healed themselves of so-called killer and incurable diseases. Because his patients dared to heal themselves of cancer, AIDS, diabetes, arthritis, heart disease, Alzheimer's, and other diseases that medicine declares incurable, his clinic was forced to close, and he now lives in hiding. Dr. Schulze is a very dangerous man to doctors and drug companies, but to you, he just might save your life.
Hey, how you doing? Hi. Yes. Wow. You know, I love you. Thank you for coming. We could spend hours on that part. I'm always clapping, and Sally and I just spent a weekend getting our audio tapes edited and put together for all of you. And the audio engineer kept saying, "Who's sitting next to you doing all that loud clapping?" And I said, "That's me." And he goes, "You clap for yourself?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Yes. It's not for me. It's for all of us. This is not just me. It's much more than me." I have a box of books in here. I'm going to get myself set up. I have to have lots of things to throw when I get mad. Someone said they reminded them of Gallagher, the comedian, and I hope it wasn't my hair. Thank you for making this party happen. I can put out the energy and the desire for wanting this to happen, but it took all of you in here, every one of you, to come here and make this happen. And I really appreciate that. And I really love that. Because we're going to change the world. That's what this is all about. Yes, yes. You know, you saw it last night. There are people here from all over America, all over the world, Europe, Ireland, England, Germany, Australia, almost every one of the 50 states, and that thrills me to no end. So you understand this, what I do with all this money is we put it back into these events and publicizing this information. I just want you to know that I haven't spent one nickel of the Crusade money since we started doing this. And what we do with this money, well, you can see we got 3 video cameras here. They've built a room back here that looks like something off the spaceship Challenger, a control room. We have an audio engineer back there, so we're making audio and videotapes for you that then you can use yourself when you lose your natural healing understanding, and then you can also use to torture and brainwash all your relatives and friends and people that you need to spread this word to. I even take my personal money and put it into this event, and then I take money from American Botanical Pharmacy and put it into this event, because this isn't about me. You're going to see this next week. It's much more than a Dr. Schulze. It's all of you. It's all of us. It's our event, our crusade, because as I said, this is how we're going to change the world. Our job this week, one of the things that I want to do is reveal and uncover the simple truths about natural healing and the power we have within. Most of us knew these truths, but we got so beat up by the system, by doctors and the pharmaceutical industry and teachers and preachers and parents and all types of people that helped us lose this knowledge that we all knew inside that was in our hearts. And so this next 4 days, I'm going to work on just tearing it out of each of us so we can live that truth again. That's what this is all about. I am going to fill your tank with natural healing evangelism. That's what you came here for. So when you leave, you are more empowered. In fact, I'm going to flood your tank. I'm going to give you so much natural healing evangelism, you'll probably puke with it before you leave here. That's my goal. I am going to do everything in my power to teach you again the healing power that you're all blessed with, that's inside of all of you, that you can use to heal yourself and help others heal themselves. This power of nature, this power of God, this healing power within us that we got talked out of somewhere along the way. I spent almost 20 years in the clinic. That's where I learned how to help people get well. And that's what you're here to listen to. So I won't be spending a lot of time this week on theories and what I think might kind of happen and what I saw on a computer or what I saw in a library. You're going to hear my experience of what I saw in the clinic working with people, getting them well. Now I know that some of you, I've already met a couple, crawled in here, barely made it, because some godless doctor told you to go home because you were going to die. And I know I've met a few, and there'll be more I'm going to meet. I know there's people in here that have already been given the death sentence. And even if you're not one of those people, I know that you have a mother or a father or a sister or a brother or a daughter or a son or an aunt or an uncle or a close friend or a neighbor or a coworker that's been told the death sentence by another godless doctor that they're going to die. So if it isn't for you, it's for them. That's what this is about. And if you're one of those people that was given the death sentence, I know that you almost gave up before you came in this room. And I'm going to tell you, I don't care what you've done before that didn't work. I don't care how many vitamins and minerals that you've used. I don't care how much vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin D, E is in your cupboard that you've swallowed and it didn't help you. I don't care how much calcium and magnesium and zinc. I don't care if you've turned yourself into a rock. I don't care how many enzymes you've taken and amino acids and how many juicers cover your top of your shelves and if you have your Vitamix going. I don't care what you've used if it didn't help you, because I'm telling you there's something here over the next 4 days that's going to work. And I don't care if your medicine chest is filled. I know I've been to my patient's house. You open that medicine chest and it looks like a pharmacy in there, and there's so much you can't stuff it in anymore. So you got it on your sink and you got it on your toilet. Sometimes on the top of your toilet it's sitting there, prescription drugs, and they may not have helped you. And beyond that, it goes into the bedroom. And on the nightstand you have your prescription drugs and they haven't helped you. I don't care. I don't care if you've called Dr. Kevorkian on the telephone and said, please get over to my house and kill me before I rot, because the doctors have said I'm going to die. So I'm telling you that when you get home and Dr. Kevorkian is knocking on your door, you can say, Dr. Death, I don't need you, because I've been to the Crusade and I know how to heal myself, right? I know how to live. That's what this is about. I'm going to teach you this week. This is why you're here. Now, I know you all know it. I just say it a little louder. That's why I'm here, to say it louder, so for 4 days you can get pumped up with this. What are you going to get out of the crusade? The best way I can describe it is a physical, emotional, and spiritual bowel movement. See, I promised myself I wouldn't let 5 minutes go by before I said the word bowel movement. A purge, a cleansing, a lifting of the body, mind, and spirit. The body, yes, we are going to do some cleansing and healing here. Organic, organic, organic. Everything you see, touch is going to be organic. So what comes in, and we're going to talk about that later, and what goes out. You're going to be having even better bowel movements than you had on the way here. Maybe better than in your whole life. In fact, that's why you all got a bottle of intestinal formula #1 right in your bag, because I didn't want to take any chances. I wanted you to start right out with having your formula to make you have better bowel movements. That's another thing that this is all about. And when you come here, you can tend to get a little nervous because look at it. Over 200 people from around the world that are just as crazy as each one of you with natural healing evangelism. Isn't that great? Yes, look at this group. But sometimes that makes us a little bit nervous, and we stop our bowels. So I didn't want anybody to get plugged up, because the first thing that happens when you get plugged up here is you get plugged up here, and we all want to take in as much of this as possible. So that's why the intestinal formula #1 is right in your bag, and you can start using it immediately. And hey, I can proudly say that this group, and wherever we go, we have plugged the toilets at every place we've held this crusade. Every place. Yes. Yes. You know, it proves my theory. I do not believe that the modern toilet was designed for a person whose bowel works normally. I believe that whoever they tested that on was constipated. Because when I go, the first thing I'm thinking is that all going to flush down there? Now that's a good bowel movement, and a lot of times it doesn't, does it? And we plugged the toilet so bad up here, we plugged every toilet at once. So now we've hired a full-time person to be outside those bathrooms with a plunger to make sure that we can get it down. Now maybe we'll read in the headlines tomorrow. City of Santa Monica sewage system overloaded. Toilet paper wasn't designed either for good, healthy people. Believe me, you've all experienced that one. The mind, we're going to work with the mind too, with new ways of looking. I'm going to make getting well so simple to you that you'll be able to go out of here and really make better choices and understand the power that you have within you. A lot of you have known of Dr. Christopher, the late Dr. Christopher, great American herbalist, one of my greatest teachers. Love the man very much. A lot of people like to think of him as a kind of a gentle, humorous, white-haired, lovely old man. But let me be very clear that this man was a great rebel. Dr. Christopher was a very intense rebel. Dr. Christopher was thrown in jail 6 times for his beliefs in natural healing. Put behind bars 6 times for telling people how to help themselves and their children and their families. I saw that man in prison behind bars for just speaking the truth of nature and God. I have a very dear old friend in this room somewhere named Bodie. And I was riding in a car with him, and he's a very gentle man also, very mellow, very gentle, very quiet. And I was riding with him, and he said, well, you know, this is a war. And I thought, well, that's a very strong statement from one of the most loving, mildest people I know. And then I started thinking about it, and I thought, he's right. I know I've been in jail many times. I know that the doors of my clinic were removed quickly with these big boom. So maybe it is a war. If you're not sure, you could talk to Anisha, this lovely English woman you'll meet back at American Botanical Pharmacy, because she was working in one of my offices when she got badges shoved in her face by government agencies. Yes, while we were celebrating our freedom this last 4th of July, the government came in again and shut American Botanical Pharmacy down again for our freedom. And so talk to her a little bit about how it feels to get government badges shoved in your face. Now, I've been asked by many friends in high places, Dr. Schulze, please don't say those things. Please don't talk about the government that way. Personally, I feel the hell with any government that treats its people like ours has treated us. And this is a bipartisan statement here. I'm not talking about any particular group. I'm not talking about Democrats or Republicans. I'm talking about getting in bed with big business like medicine and pharmaceuticals and taking away our personal rights to treat ourselves the way we want and to treat our children. Do you know that only a few months ago, a family whose son didn't want to be treated, the police went to the door, the paramedics went to the door, they took that child away from the family, they strapped it down with duct tape onto a stretcher and took it away from the parents because the parents and the child did not want to go through the medical therapy. Anybody see that on TV, Connie Chung? Yes, we got a few hands. Absolutely. This is a war. I've said that we need a revolution. And some people have said, well, Dr. Schulze, you're talking conspiracy. I absolutely am talking conspiracy, in case anybody wondered here. Now, I'm on the political soapbox here. Give me a few minutes to be on it. Yes, I am. You know, I'll give you a few conspiracy thoughts here. First of all, whenever I've got paranoid and thought, is this happening? Is this really happening? The truth has always been worse when it's uncovered. Did you ever notice that? You think, well, is the CIA really bad? No, they're not bad. They're just selling cocaine in South Central Los Angeles. Okay? The truth is always bad. I was blessed by one of my patients owned a large bank. And one of the board members on this bank was the head of the largest hospital group, private group in the United States. In other words, this man owned more hospitals around the United States than anybody else. Hundreds of hospitals. And he was speaking in front of a group of doctors, chiefs of staff of hospitals, and I got to sneak in my herbal tuxedo. I got into this black tie event, very quiet, sat in the back. Priest came in and blessed the event, and this man stood up on the podium and he said, because I always like to say a joke first, he said, running a hospital is just like running a whorehouse. You can't make money unless you keep all the beds full. That's the truth. That's what I heard. So when I say conspiracy, don't think for a minute that there isn't an organized conglomerate of businessmen and women out there trying to figure out how to cut you up, burn you up, and mutilate you and take all your money before you die. I've seen it. I've seen my patients. I've seen it happen in my family. It's happening out there. We had a bad earthquake here in town, real bad a couple years ago. Destroyed my clinic, leveled everything. There was a hospital in town, and it was on the news when this hospital got damaged by the earthquake so bad they had to get all the patients out. There were 200 patients in the hospital, and they got to send 187 of those patients home. Only 13 were transferred to other hospitals. What were they doing in there? Yeah. I gave a lecture a few years ago in England. And it was a quite intense lecture. 2 people fainted. Fainted while I was speaking. Must have really got on my soapbox there. After the lecture, the person who put it on said, there's someone here, a gentleman that would like to speak with you for a few minutes, and I think you should talk to him. And he introduced himself, and he said, I'm the Queen's physician. And I said, oh, terrific. And he said, could I have 2 minutes of your time in a side room? And I said, okay. And he said, you know, you're a very dangerous man, Dr. Schulze. He goes, do you realize you're speaking anarchy? You're speaking revolt? And I said, yeah, you must have heard my lecture. Really, it got sunk in. And he said, you should watch your back. That's what he told me. He said, you should watch your back. Now, you know, there have been many great doctors like me, like Dr. Schulze, who ran the Los Angeles Institute of Drugless Therapy, one of Dr. Christopher's teachers. I think he was killed, disappeared, better than Jimmy Hoffa. Dr. Mendelsohn, a lot of people in my field tend to disappear when they start asking for an investigation of the government and of medicine and of the pharmaceutical companies and why so many people are hurt and crippled. And so I do watch my back, and I watch my front, and I watch my sides, and I have a lot of great people you've already met and I'm going to introduce later that work with us. And they watch for me, and all you are watching for me. But if someone gets down this aisle, I just want you to know that Mr. Glock here is going to watch me too. I will not be the first one to go down. I want you to know that. It isn't going to be me. I'll aim it back this way. Now that we got that out of the way, I feel a little lighter. I know some of you thought you were coming to hear Mahatma Gandhi, and I'm sorry, but I didn't ask for all these things to happen to me. I was just trying to help people get well. And this is what happens when you try to help people get well with the weeds that are growing in their backyard and not out of the drugstore. I didn't realize I wasn't playing ball. I didn't realize I had to be playing some game. I also got the legal team of Sam Colt and Mr. Smith and Mr. Wesson at my house. So I have some backup, and I've had a lot of great patients that have helped me out a lot with that, so I live in a place that no one can find. Some people have said to me, Dr. Schulze, you don't rock the boat. I get a lot of calls like this because I have a lot of people that I've helped get well in politics, but they call me, Dr. Schulze, don't rock the boat. And I've always thought, you ever notice that the only boat that doesn't go anywhere is the one that's not rocking? Okay? This is all about rocking the boat. It's all about kicking the boat, sinking the boat, blowing up the boat. That's what I'm here to do, is make waves, to wake us back up. If any of you are feeling any excitement and adrenaline, so am I. That's what this is about. I don't want you to go back. You bet it's a war. I don't want you to go home thinking the same thoughts you did coming in here, that I'm not doing my job. The enemy, yeah, the butchering, killing medical doctors and the pharmaceutical drug cartels, they're the enemy. Do you know that last year in the United States, more people were killed by doctors and drugs than all the people killed in the Revolutionary War, in the Civil War, in World War I, in World War II, in Korea, in Vietnam, and in the Desert Storm Nightmare last year alone? Wow. Think about this for a minute. I'm here to present you with some thoughts that should rattle us. Here's another one. More people have been killed in the last 2 decades, 20 years, by medicine than by all wars of all countries since the beginning of time on this planet. Wow. Think about that. Do you know that not that long ago, when I was a little younger, we were all a little younger, during the war in Vietnam, a horrible, horrible war, 5,600 men and women were killed a year in that horrible war. And it was so bad, it caused massive demonstrations in the streets. I know. I was there. See the scar? Right here. Chicago, 1968. Watch for me when they run the newsreels. I know. Massive demonstrations in the streets for 5,000 men and women. Political unrest, anarchy, This country had a war overseas and a war right here. We, because we weren't happy, all of us weren't happy, caused the removal of the Vice President and the President of the United States because of 5,000 people dead a year, and medicine is killing 1 million Americans a year in this country, and we're doing nothing about it. It's a crime. It's a war. And what's worse is we're all paying for it to happen through our tax dollars. So I won't be talking about politics the whole day. But when you see me get excited, I have to help you get mad. Because some of us have been so numbed by medicine and pharmaceuticals and television and whatever. We forget these figures. 5,000 men and women, and it almost destroyed America. And we have 1 million a year die. This is worse than any war that ever happened. And you're all here because you've seen it happen to your friends and relatives and maybe even to yourself. You want to see a Holocaust, you want to see a genocide, go to a hospital. Few people have said, Dr. Schulze, you make me feel uncomfortable. Well, hallelujah. Praise the Lord, because that's my job. That is my job, to make people feel a bit uncomfortable. I got here because I put my foot harder in my patient's rear end than anybody else. That's what it takes. We have to get uncomfortable before we can understand this. You want to feel uncomfortable? You ought to come inside here for about 2 seconds. That's intensity. I can feel it. And I'm going to tell you all the stories very soon about how I got here, what I'm doing here. But I would like to read you. You have a nice booklet here of a lot of my favorite handouts, but I'd like to read the welcome to you. And you can read along with me if you want. It's page 1. And you don't have to. You can sit back and breathe and close your eyes, whatever you want. But this is an important message for me, and so I want to read it again myself. Because remember, this is more than just Dr. Schulze speaking to you. You'll feel it. This isn't an event. This is a happening. I am not in charge here. And you'll see that. I am not in control. All the volunteers see that, and you will see that. This is an event. It's bigger than me. I could have retired already. Okay, I'm not doing this for the money. This is a blessing. And here's, yes, amen. And here is a little letter. I want to thank you for making my dream come true, because I know what a wonderful world this is, and I know that healing and health and laughter and love is natural for us. That's our natural state of being. I've known this since I was a kid. I've always felt this. And I knew that I was going to share this gift with you. I've felt it all my life. It's a gift that all of you came here with. You just need a little more encouragement to let it explode out of you like it's exploding out of me, to manifest it, to feel it, to breathe it, to live it, and release it and share it with everybody when you leave this crusade. From the beginning of our lives, we are bombarded with the lies of mankind. And boy, was I. They tried to get me every way they could. And we believe these lies to be true. So I know that many of you in here have at one time or another thought you might be crazy. Because while everybody was lining up for their medicine and pharmaceuticals, you were feeling like, this doesn't feel good in my heart. This doesn't feel right in my soul to have these organs removed. And you weren't going along. That's why you're here, because you couldn't take it. Our parents, I heard it from my parents. Our teachers, boy, my teachers almost got my mind out of my head. They almost got me going against myself. Our preachers, our leaders, they've all had us vaccinated with a poison worse than any bacteria or virus known. A disease that's lies buried deep within all of us in every cell of our body, mind, and spirit. And this disease is distrust, is disbelief. We no longer believe in God. We no longer believe in nature. We no longer believe in the healing power that's inside of all of us. And I'm going to show you some herb books here, and the herbalists are telling you not to believe in that. We'll read those later today. And this disease has corrupted us. It's infected us. through our every being, every cell of our body. And our healing can only come when we are willing to trust again in God and nature, and trust again, believe again, and have the strength again to love again. This is what the healing is going to come from. These abilities, I feel, again, are the natural state, but we're also paralyzed, mesmerized, hypnotized, numb, and dumb. We're just walking around, okay, well, I woke up, I guess I should take Dayquil. Well, I go to bed, I should take this other one. And, oh, well, I can't, when I eat this food, my stomach burns, I better take more of these pills. We've all just become a machine. We've lost our common sense. And that's what this week is all about, is common sense. Now, I know that all of you have taken many steps to change. That's why you're here. And this week, I'm going to ask you to take one more. Few of the things I'm going to say this week might feel a little uncomfortable on Monday. They'll feel better on Tuesday, and by Wednesday, you'll feel it coming through your body. And if you don't, let it go. Get rid of it. I'm just going to give you my experience here. This is my dream, and so I'm just asking you all to take one more step this week, a little bit further out than you've dared before. That's what I would like. Many people say, where did you get all this passion and all this enthusiasm and all this excitement? As I was on my way here this morning, I could see this building from about a mile away, and I looked up at the top, and I said, there's 250 people up there waiting to play about natural healing, waiting to hear more about natural healing and the power. And someone said, doesn't that frighten you a little bit? And I thought, I can't wait to get there. I can't wait to get to this party. I was sitting at every red light going, I can't believe it's another red light. I wanted to get in this place. So people have said, why are you so passionate? Why are you so excited? What is this enthusiasm you have? So let me tell you where it came from and how I got it. When I was 11 years old, had a wonderful life, fairy tale life. Mom and Dad, very poor, but they loved the heck out of me and my brother and had a wonderful life. But when I was 11 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night. I heard a horrible noise. I ran in. My mother was crying. She was on the telephone, and my dad was screaming. And I got in bed, because that's where I always went when I felt unsafe, was into my parents' bed. And I held my dad, and he was crying and gasping for breath. I remember he had sweat. His whole body was sweating. Then he threw up on me, and he was gasping. And my mother was crying, trying to get a doctor on the phone because he had been under doctor's care. And he was screaming, and then he lost bladder control, and then he lost bowel control. And I held him for 3 hours, and he looked at me in the eyes, and he said, the last thing he said was, he goes, I'm dead. And he slumped over. And I'll never forget that. That was my first experience with mortality. I couldn't believe it. This was my dad. And to watch him die in such a horrible fashion at 11. And you know, only a few years later, when I was 14, the same thing happened to my mom. She died of a massive heart attack. And at 16, I was in trouble. I started having pains in my chest. I didn't understand it. And I started having pains in my jaw. I thought I was having tooth problems. And then the pains were radiating down my left arm. And one day, the pains got really great, and then I saw my vision come in, and I fell over and passed out. And it got to where I was passing out almost once a day. And then once or twice a day. And it got to the point where I was falling over about 3 times a day, and I knew I was in big trouble. And I went to the doctors. And I went to the hospital and the cardiac specialist, and the doctor said to me, we better do some tests. So they did stress tests and cardiograms and x-rays and everything you could do at that time. And the doctor came back in that room. He had a very gray look on his face, very sad, very scary. I think he was trying to stimulate my immune system. And he said, you have a very grave condition. I thought, grave, does that mean that's where I'm headed? Love that terminology. He said, you're very seriously ill. He goes, you have deformed valves in your heart. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, well, what you're feeling is because your heart chambers are flooding at the wrong time. And he said, you need to have surgery. And I thought, wait a minute, there's got to be a lot of other things I could do. And he goes, if you don't have corrective surgery on these valves, by the time you're 19 or 20, you'll be dead, because there's no way this heart, the way it's flooding and it can't pump the blood, could